Okay. Our youngest daughter graduated from high school in 2000. Her plan was to attend the beauty school nearby instead of a junior college or a regular four-year university. After learning the science of hair and nails and mastering the techniques of cosmetology, she was able to find a local salon. Her best friend also had stayed in town to continue waitressing. Alas, wanderlust combined with the basic change of scenery called to them. So after a year, they decided to share an apartment in Chicago. Both girls found work in a safe neighborhood, which happened to be near Wrigley Field. 2 years passed, and they decided to not renew their lease. Instead of researching another living space, they came back to the boonies and slipped easily into what they were confident doing for work. One Saturday morning, our daughter told us a job advisor was coming over to discuss her job options. The woman was an Army recruiter. My husband and I obviously were surprised, skeptical, and nervous about the prospect of our youngest enlisting. It was late summer 2002. All my husband and I could think about was 9/11 and any prospects of our girl being in the nightmarish fray of fighting. The meeting in our living room was very laid back and informative. Our daughter clearly had thought this through. She had enlisted for 4 years, saying that if she joined for only 2, she'd be given grunt kitchen work or have to learn office technical stuff that she didn't like. She insisted that she wanted to be outside. We spoke a little longer to the recruiter about what came next. The newly enlisted were measured for a uniform and stayed local for a short period while they waited to be sent to boot camp for what is called initial entry training. Before she was sent to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in February of 2003, I had lunch with her. It was just the two of us, sitting at a local diner across from each other in a booth. I made her pinky swear that she'd come back to us. That's serious stuff, you know, pinky swears. We had letters, but not right away. Boot camp was strict and busy, and we could tell that she was learning just how regimented her choice was. We went to her graduation 10 weeks later. Cars entering the compound were inspected inside and out, while a large mirror was scanning underside of the cars. We spent the weekend in a motel. She had permission to leave briefly to have dinner with us, then lunch the following day. It was hard to leave. In the summer of 2003, her unit was sent to its first duty station in Anchorage, Alaska, after being allowed to come home for an overnight stay. My husband and I breathed a sigh of relief to know that she'd be stationed stateside for the time being. She had learned to drive heavy construction vehicles for roads. Road graders, scrapers, dump trucks, and even a semi was part of her job. We sent her tickets to return for a brief stay at Christmas time. In January of 2004, she called to let us know that her unit was going to be deployed to Kuwait for a month, then on to Iraq. Even though we knew she had joined up for a 4-year stint, this was gut-wrenching to hear. Her unit was going to be driving the earth-moving vehicles to Balad so they could resurface the tarmac in an Air Force base. They also spent time in the watchtowers that lined the peripheral of the base. The Tigris River flowed along one side, and they could see families bathing and washing their clothes in it. The children would stand near the riverside towers and beg for candy that the servicemen and women would toss to them. This location seemed non-threatening until we'd get phone calls at 2 a.m., which I'd get on the first ring every time. Sometimes they were honing their night skills by positioning themselves under their Jeep and aiming at targets. Other times we'd be on the line for minutes until she quickly said that they were being shelled by mortars and hang up. That's the kind of thing you go, I gotta put the phone down and pass out, just the idea of it. Other times we'd be on the line for minutes until she quickly said that they were being shelled by mortars again and hang up. repetitive. During these times, I began to get up earlier than normal before work and walk the dog. I couldn't face the newspaper headlines and front-page war photos, so I canceled our subscription. February 2005, she came home for a week leave, then was finished with her tour of duty that May, after her unit was in charge of driving their vehicles back to be loaded onto ships to return to the States. Years later, she was married, had a daughter, and lived near Indianapolis in June of 2014. Her paternal grandfather was in his final stages before passing away. She insisted on driving by herself to see him one last time in Arkansas. She called to tell me her plans, and like any mom, I said, "Are you sure that's a good idea, going by yourself at night?" She said, "Mom, I drove a road grader on bad roads for 17 hours to the coast to be transported. I got this." I still have a sturdy stainless steel portable coffee mug she left me with a sweet note inside, and that was 19 years ago. I guess the pinky swear worked. We feel so grateful. I have one other, that's kind of a length. This is called An Army of One in Our Hearts. What about the in-between? Wispy pigtails, now hair that must not touch the collar. Pink, lavender, and floral attire, now desert brown, camouflage, and regulation boots. Was there really a red Honda after the big wheels, but before the road grader and the armored Humvee? Was there makeup between the dirty face of the playground and the dust-covered worker near the Tigris River? Instead of a purse, you towed a rifle to the chow hall and latrine. You enlisted for 4 years. 2 years get you stuck in kitchen work. I want to be outside. Your brief leave was a mixed bag of emotions, from Iraq to Kuwait to Germany to Atlanta to Chicago and back. Headlines and graphic front-page photos make us hold our breath. People you've never met ask about you. Did I already read this? Okay, thank you. We're grateful for emails. You're able to manage phone calls at 2 p.m. our time that I pick up on the first ring. We're grateful for these communications and mourn those who no longer get them. We're proud but heavy-hearted in between. Come home soon. I have one other short one. This is called The Thing She Carried. I spent one Wednesday morning per week at the USO in Terminal 2 at O'Hare Airport. It's not much, but it helps me cope with the past and ever-present war situations. We have been fortunate that our Army daughter returned. One morning I came into the office and noticed a huge bouquet of a dozen pastel pink roses on the petty officer's desk. I learned that it was given to a female recruit by her visiting boyfriend before she was bussed off to Great Lakes Naval Training Center. Besides many other personal items, the bouquet was not allowed to go with her, so it was stuck in a tall, empty jar that still smelled a bit from pickles. I took the floral decoration back to the sink and trimmed the stems so the jar wouldn't tip over. I counted 11 stems of the gorgeous roses that remained, and one short, bare stem. My suspicions were correct. She had managed to secret away one rose, at least for the bus ride.